A new energy from waste plant could be on the way for Waimate. Waimate, you lucky things. South Island Resource Recovery is looking into the viability of building this plant near the South Canterbury town, which would burn rubbish in order to generate power. Now, the Mayor of Waimate says that the proposal could create many benefits for the district. And Paul Taylor is a director on the board of South Island Resource Recovery. Afternoon, Paul.
Hi, Heather.
How much rubbish do you reckon you guys could burn?
350,000 tonnes is what we plan to process through this facility.
Put that in context for us. How much are you taking out of the landfills that would otherwise, what proportion of a landfill is this?
Well, New Zealand-wide, we're looking at currently around 3.5 million tonnes of waste per annum going into landfills, Class 1 landfills. There's also considerable amounts that aren't accurately recorded yet, which are going into landfill type 2. So in the South Island, per population of New Zealand, we're looking at in the order of 1 million tonnes currently going into landfill, of which we're looking to process around a third of that.
And then, so what do? You burn it, and somehow that process creates power. How does that work?
Yeah, so essentially there's a boiler in the system. So the incineration process creates heat and in turn creates steam, which of course generates electricity through turbines. And it's that electricity that we'll be able to supply to local industry or the national grid.
How much power can you supply?
Well, 30 megawatts of power is what we'll be able to produce. Of course, there are a number of other outputs with the process. So in terms of hot water and steam for local businesses that are nearby, and depending on how much we require for those processes, there is also a parasitic requirement of the plant itself. But essentially, we expect that there's roughly 30 megawatts of power that will be created through this process.
It's like a small wind farm, isn't it?
Yeah, small wind farm, I suppose, is probably accurate.
The trouble with this that I can see is that one of the things that you emit is carbon dioxide. Now, that's not particularly flash for the planet at the minute, is it?
Well, of course it's important, and the climate change aspects are very important. But of course, the bigger issue is methane production, which is very significant in terms of its effects on climate. And currently,
do you reckon methane's more significant than carbon dioxide?
Well, it's the second to carbon dioxide.
Yeah, I was going to say. I mean, surely you're emitting the more significant one.
Yeah. Well, I think the issue is that with methane, currently the waste that's going into landfills, some of it is being captured, but there's a lot that's not, and it's not widely reported around how much of that has been captured. So I think the question, and something that we'll be working towards as part of our resource consent process, is drawing on the international experience, which suggests that our emissions from our energy from waste plant will be considerably less than from landfills. And I think again, probably the bigger issue at point here is that next to its people, land is the most important asset that we have here in New Zealand, and currently it's not a good practice to be putting rubbish on the ground and leaving it for future generations to have to deal with. So,
fair point. Were you, Paul, involved with that plan to build something similar on the West Coast a wee while back?
Well, this is a different company. This is a joint venture. South Island Resource Recovery Limited has three partners.
Well, what went wrong with the other one?
Well, I think there's a number of things that was learnt from that process, and I think part of that was that the community probably weren't ready. And I think the company Renew Energy probably didn't have the support from the international technology providers that we do now. So the two large companies that we're working alongside are Ubasa, which is a Spanish company, and CNTY, which is a Chinese company which has a large presence throughout the world. It's a leader in terms of environmental waste management, 73,000 employees worldwide in 34 countries, and a strong reputation around the management of waste. So with those two partners, we're now in a much stronger position to present our case, and I think New Zealanders are ready for it. I think there's a genuine concern around landfilling, and we've got a solution for that.
Interesting. Good luck with it, Paul. Thank you so much. Paul Taylor, Board Director of South Island Resource Recovery.
It's all about the 80s. The 80s, the best music era ever. Coast 80s. Listen and follow now on iHeartRadio.